Hey everyone, CPO here, and in this video, I'm very excited to share with you a solution to a problem that I ran into when I installed my Blaze Performance AToM Race intake. That was in April. If you recall that video, I installed the intake and I was super happy, but I couldn't close the hood of my car. You see, the problem is not with the intake, but with the hood that I have. I have an aftermarket carbon fiber hood, which I also like a lot. I installed that the end of last year. You can find that video as well. But the problem is it's a dual layer hood and it has a little bit of a lower profile, as in into the engine compartment, than a standard factory hood. So the intake tray and the air collector itself sat too tall for my hood. Now the hood is lower because it's got some air vents that need a little bit of room, would hit the top of the air collector and the intake tray before it would close all the way and latch. So I ended up creating this janky solution where I basically unscrewed the intake from its position and collapsed it down to make it less wide, and then pushed it back so it would sit back and down, and was basically press fit in place by the hood, which is not ideal, but it got me by. So I shared the video of my install like I usually do in one of the Facebook groups, and you guys, a couple of you, actually connected me with Kumarin Moodley, who is the owner of Blaze Performance, and basically tagged him and said, hey, see if he can help you. Kumarin enters the chat, acknowledges the video, and says, to quote, let's get this done right. And that kicked off several months of back and forth between me and Kumarin on developing a low profile version of the intake tray for the AToM Race V2 on the Volkswagen MQB platform. So this involves some brainstorming, and Kumarin asked me questions about restrictions and clearances, and I pulled some measurements to look at how far back and down I had moved my intake air collector so that I could have enough clearance for the hood. We traded some ideas back and forth on how it could be lowered. And then I did some testing with cardboard mock-ups to see if I could determine like at what level the lowest level of the hood was going to hit. And then what happened is Kumarin actually put together a CAD design of a different version that I then recreated with cardboard and test fit into the car. And we went through a couple of iterations of this before we got what I believe is the final design, and I think is the best fit for this situation, right? So then he was going to make it for me, and knowing that I have go.fast.r on the back of my car, that's sort of my brand, he also threw in a little Easter egg and included the go.fast.r logo in the version that he completed for me. So, like I said, it was several months of back and forth, and then he developed this one-off version of this based on our back and forth and testing and cardboard modeling. And I was super excited to actually see the finished result in person. And don't worry, I'll tell you at the end of this video the dimensional changes between the normal one and the new low profile version. Yeah, check that out. So the cool thing is this wasn't just developed for me, it's also developed as a new option for others who might be in the same situation. This is going to be available as an option for the AToM Race V2 for those people who have hood clearance issues, such as mine with the carbon fiber hood. All right, so I got this thing installed, and spoiler alert, it fit like a glove. Of course, after all of the testing and the cardboard mock-ups, I would be surprised if it didn't. And I'm thankful it did, because Kumarin went through a lot of efforts to build this version specifically based on my feedback to him for measurement. So I'm not going to go through the install of this because you can go back and look at the original install video that I did on the AToM Race V2 for detailed instructions if you're trying to install this for the first time. But yeah, it's so much nicer. Don't worry, I'm still going to go through the dimensional differences so you can see exactly how we adjusted it. But just let me get it installed real quick. Now it can actually be bolted in place and not be press fit and just like stuck by the hood in its position. So I feel much better about this. And now it's just a better, cleaner, normal install, which I'm also super thrilled about. I was a little embarrassed by having the intake the way I did before. And again, it's not Blaze Performance's fault. I just happen to have a hood that made it incompatible with the intake. And instead of just blaming the customer like they could have done, they helped me find a solution, which I thought was super cool. So yeah, now the hood shuts just like it's supposed to, nice and easy. I even put some tape down. This is sort of my method for figuring out if the hood touches. I want it to be tall enough that it actually sealed against the bottom of the hood, but not too tall that the hood wouldn't close, obviously. So the fact that I can close the hood down and that tape grabs and sticks to the hood means the hood is touching the top of that seal. So I think we've got the perfect depth for that and this type of hood. And of course, there's plenty of room for that to squish down. So yeah, super happy. You can see now looking through, there's my Easter egg, the GOFASTR logo there. And the intake sits lower down into the engine compartment and gives enough clearance for that hood. It sits lower by 30 millimeters. And that was the number that we came up with all of that testing and back and forth. 30 millimeters lower seemed to make a huge difference. One more look at my cardboard mock-ups from the CAD drawings that Kumarin sent me. Like, that's super cool. I love development, so this is super fun. And here's a look at the difference between the original design and the new low-profile design. The low-profile design is the red one, and as you can see, the entire tray drops by 30 millimeters, and then the duct is also obviously dropped by 30 millimeters, which has the entire air collector sitting lower in the engine compartment. So as I said, Kumarin intends to make this an option available to people who have hood clearance issues. So I'm not sure exactly when that's going to happen, but I'm sure you can check Blaze Performance's website for updates. So thank you, Kumarin. I really appreciate the opportunity to work with you on this project. And thanks so much for the GoFastR branded intake tray for my AToM Race V2 intake. Super stoked. Anyway, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.